Hello and welcome to the Supportive Care Services Virtual Lunch and Learn series. My name is Voncel Hunter, Marketing Specialist with Ironwood Cancer and Research Centers. We've created a series of lunch and learn videos to help you be successful when navigating your cancer journey. Our Supportive Care Services Department is here to help you get actively involved in your healing process. For more information about the Supportive Care Services Department, please email socialwork@ironwoodcrc.com.
We have quite a few questions for Jessica, and we're going to get her feedback on how to begin adjusting back into normal social life after the pandemic. Hey, Jessica, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. So we have a few questions here for you today, and you would most definitely be the right person to address these. So to begin with, our first question that we have is, for those who have enjoyed more time at home during the pandemic, what is the best way to maintain this type of lifestyle?
I would continue with the current boundaries that you have in place for yourself, focusing on the things that you're doing that's working well, whether you've adopted a new routine of self-care, eating healthy, working out, spending time with loved ones. I would say continue to do that as you readapt and go back out into the world.
Great. Yeah, it's been nice for quite a few people, and then on the other hand, it's been a hard time for others who are used to socializing quite a bit.
Absolutely.
Now, specifically for our oncology patients, we have this question. I have cancer and I'm very nervous to be around people because there are some who are vaccinated and others who are not. How can I be sure I feel safe in the public?
My best advice would be honest with yourself about what you're comfortable with and where you're at. My rule of thumb is this meaningful to me? Is this honoring to me? And ask yourself that. And if it's not, then maybe that's an indication that that's not someplace that you need to go, even if you have a semblance of wanting to go there. But I think if you can be honest with yourself and look at, okay, I'm comfortable in this situation versus I'm not comfortable in that. And then again, is this meaningful to me? Is it honoring to me? I think if you use that as a guide, you'll never go wrong with that.
I agree. Yeah. Okay. And so a lot of people have been working from home, and they have, business up top, and they have their pajama bottoms at the bottom. So this question is kind of surrounding that. I'm having a hard time getting dressed and ready in the mornings because I have some social anxiety where I once did not have that. What are the first steps I can take to getting comfortable going out once again?
That's a really good question. Number one, give yourself time in the morning to settle your nerves. If that means waking up 30 minutes earlier, waking up an hour earlier to just allow your nerves to settle, I would definitely recommend doing that. There's a lot of apps like Headspace and Calm that have a daily meditation. That's a quick 3 to 5 minutes that you can listen to before you get out of bed. You can listen to it as you're kind of getting ready. That helps kind of walk you through some mindful breaths, help set the tone for the day, relax some of those anxieties, and then you fall into your routine, whether it's working out, getting ready for work, getting the kids off to school, eating breakfast. But the more you can structure a routine for yourself, I think that would be most helpful.
Okay. Now, what about those routines that we were once really used to, and now as we go about our days, we're finding that we're fatigued more, and we just really can't fit as much into our day as we used to be able to?
I say prioritize what's important to you. I think before, in society, we're very much check all the boxes, do all the things. And that can lead to burnout, whether we realize it or not. And I think a lot of times we don't realize the importance of just relaxing and being calm. So I would definitely say if there's 10 things you have to do that week, write them all down and prioritize what are the things that absolutely have to get done today. What are the things that maybe can wait until the latter part of the week, and then prioritize it for yourself. That way you're not feeling overwhelmed by everything that comes up.
A great idea. Now, my caregiver doesn't feel that it's safe to go out yet. How do I let them know I'm not concerned and assure them that I'll be okay?
I would definitely, share with your loved one that you've talked with your medical professional about what's going to be best for you given your situation, especially if you have a compromised immune system. Talking to your medical professional, seeing if there's any restrictions that you should be following, whether it's continuing to wear a mask, taking other precautions, and then sharing with your loved ones that you were doing the research, you've talked with your medical professional, and you guys have come up with a plan that you feel is best for you, and you feel comfortable implementing that. Again, it's about what's most meaningful and honoring to and for you, and that is different for everybody. And it can be challenging for loved ones, friends, and others to understand sometimes the behaviors of others if it's not in alignment with what may be honoring to and for them. And I think that's sometimes where the uneasiness comes from, the discomfort comes from.
Yeah. And with that, there's a lot of talk surrounding the pandemic, vaccines, pre-COVID life, and many people are becoming overwhelmed with that talk. And how do they sensitively let their family know or their friends know that that's not a topic that they want to discuss?
Well, I think it's all about boundaries, right? Boundaries teach other people how to treat us. So there's no harm in saying, hey, Ciara, I don't have the bandwidth to have this conversation with you. Mm-hmm. Hey, Ciara, I don't have the capacity to discuss this with you right now. There's no harm in saying that, gently redirecting them with another conversation, or just saying, hey, I'm not interested in talking about that right now. I'll let you know when I feel ready, whatever the case may be.
Right. Now, I have come across some people that may have had a family member who endured COVID, and maybe they even lost a loved one to COVID. And so that's a really hard thing to do when you're around friends or family. It's to, there's that conversation or that elephant in the room that nobody really wants to address. So how do you make conversation and react sensitively to a friend or loved one who may have lost somebody to COVID?
That's a really good question, because I think sometimes survivor's guilt and things like that can come up. Number one, don't try to fill the space. A lot of times when we feel uncomfortable, we try to offer nuances that aren't really helpful. Everything happens for a reason. Oh, they're in a better place, so on and so forth. And while that may be the case, based upon your belief, it's not helpful to the person in the moment to offer those types of nuances to them. I would also avoid saying, I know what you're going through. I know what it feels like. Unless you have also had a loved one who has also died from COVID within the last year, you likely do not know what that person is experiencing and what it's like. You can empathize with them, which is what we all want, right? We want somebody that's able to sit present with us and bear witness to us and our experience, but someone may not necessarily know exactly. But also, so as you're sitting there with that person, ask them to share about their loved one. A lot of times, those that are grieving feel as though they cannot talk about their loved one. They cannot share with others about the person that they've lost because they think it's going to make someone else uncomfortable. We also come from a society as well where if someone is grieving too long, it's kind of like, okay, let's wrap this up. It's been 6 months, it's been a year, so on and so forth. I think we can all collectively agree there's no timeline to grief. That's something that never goes away, it gets better over time. But just asking them, share with me about your grandma. What's your most fond memory of your grandma? Share with me about your aunt, your uncle, whoever it is, and allow that person to share. That could be very therapeutic for them and helpful so that they aren't feeling like they have to put on this brave face and act as though their life hasn't been impacted by this pandemic.
That's great advice. Really good advice. Now, it's my personal preference, and this is from a patient perspective, my personal preference to not be around any friends or family who have not been vaccinated. How can I bring this up sensitively to them?
I would say share as you feel comfortable with your friends and family what your preference is. If you don't feel compelled to share at all, don't. That's well within your right. You're under no obligation to do so. But if you do feel comfortable sharing, I would just let them know. For me personally, I have made the decision based on XYZ. And again, it doesn't require an explanation. It can be as simple, I've made the decision to not commune with people at this time that are not vaccinated. Period, right? We don't owe the explanation. I feel like we're kind of in that atmosphere now of vaccinated, non-vaccinated, and people sharing the status and asking about it. If you feel comfortable disclosing to your friends and family that's your preference, okay, but understand that it's not. Everybody's going to be doing what's most meaningful and honoring to and for them. And again, if you use that as your guide, you'll come out on top every time. Is this meaningful to me? Is this honoring to me? You may realize, hey, great Aunt Susie isn't vaccinated, but I haven't been able to see her. And to me, it's worthwhile to meet with her for an hour to share a cupcake. If that's meaningful to you, then great. But if you're going to have more feelings of guilt, worry, concern from that interaction, then maybe that's an indication that that's not something that's meaningful and honoring. And maybe let's not do that.
So it sounds like the common theme here is boundaries,
Yeah.
and just setting those boundaries up for kind of re-entering in our social circles.
Absolutely. I think boundaries work for any situation, any environment, any person. We should all have healthy boundaries. We should all feel comfortable saying no to something that doesn't feel good to us, right? Mm-hmm. If it's not a yes, it's a no, if that makes sense.
I love that. Yeah, I love that.
If somebody asks like, hey, do you want to go get a cup of coffee? Initially, if you're not like, yes, oh my gosh, I'd love to, then that's a no.
Yeah.
And feel comfortable saying, no, this isn't a good time, I'll let you know. But a lot of times we feel like we have to make excuses like, oh, I got to go walk my goldfish, so I can't grab coffee, or, something just so outlandish to try to get out of it. Or if we just say it's not a good time for me, I think the people in our lives would respect and appreciate that.
Yes. And like you said, you don't always need that reason of X, Y, Z. You just can say no and set that boundary.
Absolutely.
Great advice. All right. Now, being around groups of people makes me feel anxious. And these, you may have never felt that way prior to the pandemic. Now, is it normal to feel this way? And then how can you work on getting more comfortable in public and just around more people every day?
I think given the current climate, it is very normative to have some of those feelings of anxiety related to being in public places, right? Over a year ago, it was 14 days to flatten the curve, right? Everybody was like, okay, we're going to lock down, we're going to do this, don't have any interactions with people, 6 feet, social distance, the whole thing. And the 14 days extended to over 365 days. Mm-hmm. And we're now in the place of, okay, we're some different transitions can be made. And so it can be very anxiety provoking to go from a situation where it's don't gather with anybody unknown to you, 6 feet, mask up, other precautions, to now, okay, it's okay to gather responsibly, or you can gather with those that aren't known to you, maybe masks on, maybe mask off, those types of things. That is extremely normal to feel some type of anxiety of, oh my gosh, what if this person went with somebody and that person had an exposure, and what if they bring it back, or those types of things. Mm-hmm. That is absolutely okay. And I say again, be honest with yourself about what your boundaries are. If you feel comfortable going to a concert, then okay, great. If you don't feel comfortable, that is also okay. The beauty of it is that you get to decide for you and your life. And I think it's okay to, again, share with those around you as much as you feel comfortable what your boundaries are, and don't feel forced to bend or break yours based on what somebody else's level of comfort is. It's going to be different for everybody, and that's okay. If you do find, though, that you're going out into public places, or having interactions with people and are starting to experience some of that heightened anxiety where it's panic attacks, those types of things, I would recommend talking to your medical professional at that time and looking into whether talking with someone about ways to manage your anxiety could be helpful.
That's great advice. Yeah. I know that there's different levels of anxiety right now. Some people are just entering the public cautiously, and then we have others who have just become so acclimated to being in their home, and they just really don't want to leave because they feel safe there.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Now, many people have noticed that they developed better self-care routines while they were home during the pandemic. And that's great for all of us. Self-care is very important. So how can we ensure that we're maintaining this high level of self-care now that the world is opening back up and we have the opportunity and maybe the obligation to go do more things in the public than we were previously?
Again, I think it goes back to prioritizing what's important to you and ensuring that the self-care fits in there. And again, I think a lot of times when people think of self-care, they think of something that's grandiose in nature. It doesn't have to be. Self-care is setting a boundary for yourself. That's self-care. So if you've already found a good practice throughout this pandemic, I would look at what helped you foster that practice. Was it being home? Was it not having a commute? Was it the fact that you're able to sit down and have breakfast? And find whatever routines and habits that you're able to keep and try to keep those. A lot of times if we can attach our self-care to something that we're already doing, it's easier for us to achieve. For example, if you want to start meditating in the morning or doing a guided meditation, that's something that you can do as you wash your face. As you're washing your face, you can be listening to it, listening to the guided meditation, doing some visualization. Same thing, brushing your teeth or even taking a shower, incorporating the mindfulness into the shower aspect. Again, it's something we're doing every single day. We already have the time carved out at least once a day, right? To do this activity. If we incorporate the self-care into it as well, we're already halfway there. So make it part of your routine, put it on your calendar. You schedule your doctor's appointments, you schedule work meetings, you schedule all those other important things. Treat your self-care the same. You know, burnout is a real thing. A lot of people have the Zoom fatigue, you know, from logging on and just the convenience of, oh, well, you're home. You should be able to cram 15 meetings into an 8-hour day. You know, self-care even in that is if you don't have to be physically, you know, seen, turn the camera off and participate with the camera off. You know, that's a form of self-care. So just looking at ways that you can continue to foster that, reprioritize, see what are some things you can let go, and when in doubt, schedule it. It can help make it a lot easier.
Yeah, that's a great idea. And then, you know, just remembering, hey, you know, you're not good to anybody else unless you're good first, and mentally, you know, as well.
Absolutely.
Now, the last question I have here for you is my family doesn't understand my social anxiety now that it exists where it once didn't. How can I best explain my fears to them?
I say be honest. It's okay to not be okay. We live in a society where, oh, hey, Ciara, how are you? I'm fine. I'm good. When inside you may not be fine. You may not be good. Be honest with those around you that you are struggling. They may be able to offer a suggestion of, hey, you know, here's what I do when I'm feeling some anxiety. But at the very least, you're allowing them an opportunity to help support you instead of, because I feel like sometimes if we aren't being honest, what happens then if somebody says, I don't want to go there, there's going to be too many people. It opens the door for somebody to say something back to us that minimizes our experience. It's only just 5 people. What's the big deal? Or I don't understand why this is going to be X, Y, Z. which minimizes what you might be feeling. But if you're honest and say, I'm struggling, I'm not ready for that yet, I'll take it at my own pace, do that. Again, it comes back to, is that interaction going to be meaningful to you? Is it going to be honoring to you? But again, if you find that you are just overcome with a debilitating fear of you can't leave the house, like physically cannot leave the house because you think that something tragic is going to happen, that could be an indication that you're experiencing something a little bit more significant than a social anxiety disorder. Agoraphobia is a very real thing where people are so debilitated and overcome by anxiety. They have a true fear of leaving the house because of something catastrophic happening to them. If you feel that you're starting to lean that way, I would definitely reach out to your PCP, your medical professional, and ask for a referral. Or you can even self-refer to a mental health professional to get some help on coping skills to help you re-enter the world again post-COVID.
That's great advice. Now, I know that there are many mental health providers in our community. Do you have a specific resource available for patients who are looking for somebody to speak to out in the community, and maybe they just want to make sure that they take their insurance or they're nearby them?
Absolutely. Psychology Today has an amazing resource. If you go to www.psychologytoday.com, there's a search engine right on the homepage. It allows you to search by geographic location, insurance provider, gender of the mental health professional you want to be seen by, and subject matter. So say if you're 32 years old, you have Blue Cross Blue Shield, you live in Mesa, and you want to see somebody for social anxiety. You would just pull up the website, you would type in, say, 85202 for Mesa, select, so say I don't have a preference in who I see. So I leave that blank, and then I'm going to check Blue Cross Blue Shield. So then it will filter out all the providers that do not take my insurance or strictly self-pay. And then I can say, oh, okay, I need somebody that takes somebody that's 32, and I need somebody that's specialized in anxiety. You can tailor it, which is really helpful.
Yeah.
Because then it saves you from having to call the list. Each insurance provider can send you a list of professionals they're contracted with, but a lot of times they may no longer be contracted, they may not have any openings, etc. And usually on Psychology Today, right there on the website, it lets you know accepting new patients, not accepting new patients, offering telehealth only, which is an option you can check as well. So I would highly, highly recommend that if you're looking for it. Again, www.psychologytoday.com.
Great. That's an amazing resource for our patients and just for everybody in general who's, in need of a mental health provider. So thank you for that.
No, of course, it's my pleasure. Because here's the thing. It's all about balance, not perfection, right? There's no how to survive a pandemic handbook. There's not. So we're all just winging it. We're all trying to figure out what's most meaningful to us, what's most honoring to us, and using that as our guide to re-enter the world, whether it's going back into the office, if you've been working at home, whether it's, readjusting to the office being at full capacity again, if you work consistently in the office, whatever environment it was that you've been in, just letting I don't want to say like your spirit be the guide, but basically just saying, okay, this is something, baby steps, right? One small change a day leads to a major change. And again, you get to decide what that looks like for your life, not anybody else.
Yeah, that is great advice. The baby steps, sometimes just getting up and doing your hair that day, or getting up and you did your makeup and you put your outfit on for that day. You're just one step closer every single day. So that's wonderful advice, Jessica.
Absolutely. And give yourself grace. Give yourself grace. We're all so hard on ourselves. We're all just trying to be the better and best versions of ourselves, and be patient with yourself. Be kind with yourself. Don't judge. where you're at based on someone else's level of activity. It's different circumstances. So just be kind to yourself.
So I do have one more question this leads me to. Now, to kind of, sometimes we don't notice how much we're improving every day. Do you recommend a way that we can track our growth, every day for, today I just got up at, when my alarm went off, or, and then you see yourself working up with progress. Do you have any suggestions?
Yeah, there's different, we live in a digital age. There's almost an app for everything. So there's tons of tracking apps that you can use to plug in, okay, completed morning hygiene, afternoon hygiene, etc. If you're not someone that's into the digital thing, think an old school sticker chart from childhood, right? Who doesn't love a gold star? So, write down the things that you want to accomplish, whether it's, okay, I need to get out of bed, eat, change clothes, figure out what your non-negotiables are, which means these are the things that I absolutely have to get done today, and do those things. If you need to create a list of things that are like, okay, the sky's not going to fall if I don't do a load of laundry today, write out that you want to do laundry, and then come up with a plan on how you'll incorporate that laundry into your daily routine. But again, at least your non-negotiables are done. Put up a gold star if you need to and say, hey, after a week of gold stars, I'm going to treat myself. Or, something, make it fun. We like positive reinforcement. That helps with human behavior. There's something to it. Think of a small child. Good job. You did really good. I like how you're coloring inside the lines. It gives them a sense of pride and accomplishment. Same thing with us. Oh my gosh, Ciara, you got up today and curled your hair. Great job. We like those positive reinforcements.
Great. That's such great advice. And you know what, for those of you who are watching now, you may want to reflect on this at another time. So this video, along with our other supportive care services videos, are available on our website, www.ironwoodcrc.com. And we do have them available on our social media, our YouTube page. So Jessica, thank you so much for being with us and for all your really valuable advice for our patients. We look forward to having you on our Lunch and Learns again.
Thank you. It was my pleasure. Again, I leave you with this. Give yourself some grace. Be kind to yourself. We're all in this together, and take care.
Thank you so much. Take care, Jessica.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us for our virtual Lunch and Learn series. We hope you enjoyed this session. There will be a replay of this Lunch and Learn on the Ironwood YouTube and social media channels. For more information regarding our supportive care services classes and events, email us at wellness@ironwoodcrc.com. Thank you for spending time with us today.